Let me figure this out. I've never used this before, obviously.
Oh,
So
there we go. No, we're good now. Well, dude, what's up? How you doing?
it's business as usual for me. Like I still go to work every day.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you're actually enjoying some of this time off, but you're still going, right, in construction.
Yeah, but I'm not traveling every weekend, so it's been a lot of time to like catch up on, sleep and family time and all this other stuff. But like not even the travel. My school shut down right before the lockdown.
Oh wow.
The last day of my wrestling school was March 11th, I want to say, and it was just perfect timing. It was just happenstance that it happened because I would have probably lost my shirt on rent and everything else keeping that place open.
Is this affecting you more than you thought it would, or were you kind of expecting a lot of this to happen?
Uh, I didn't expect like lockdown. I expected like borders to be shut and stuff like that, but it got serious really quick. And I mean, I'm not suffering. I'm lucky I can still go to my job during the week,
Yeah.
and that's why like I kept that for so long. So
So, what kind of construction do you do?
I am part of I think it's called like the Frost and Asbestos Union. So it's pipe insulation. I follow around plumbers and I insulate pipes to make sure they don't sweat or freeze, or if there's boiler rooms and they're too hot, I got to wrap boilers and stuff.
Right.
It's not a bad trade.
How long you been doing that now?
I did it for the first time probably 10 years ago. My uncle is a pipe insulator, so I worked for him for a year. And then I recently, just in the last year, started doing this because it gave me more flexibility with travel.
So, basically, throughout your whole career, you've been balancing pro wrestling and construction, working on the side.
Yeah, I had the worst job of all time for the first 14 years of my career, pretty much. I was traveling like on the side of the road or construction sites. I'd go and fix tires, which, if you ask anybody in construction that uses that equipment, none of them would wish that job upon anybody.
Right.
But it was the job that I could get with just a high school education in some university that would pay me upwards of $30 an hour.
Right.
And, I need to make all the money I could to supplement my wrestling habit at the time because I wasn't making any money wrestling. So
How difficult is that to balance? I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of wrestlers who have kind of made it, if you're at Impact or any other bigger promotion, have one job, which is wrestling, and you are balancing two jobs, and it's not just a side job where you're kind of selling stuff out of your garage. It's manual labor, and you're doing that, and then going into the ring, every weekend. So how do you balance that mentally and physically?
when I had the wrestling school going as well, it was pretty draining. But for the most part, I've done this since the start of my career. Like I was thrown out of my ass when I was 18 years old, and I
Right.
had to, find a place to stay, pay my own car and insurance and all this stuff. So I've always balanced a job with wrestling. In the past, I want to say 3, 4 years, it's the first time I've ever told my employer that I was wrestling on weekends.
Wow.
Before that, I didn't say anything because I didn't want to have to explain time off for going to a show in the middle of nowhere in front of hardly any people. But now that I'm doing it on a bigger stage and I'm traveling a lot more, it's much easier for them to grasp and understand that it's something worthy of an income and a second job more than anything, right? But yeah, I've done it my whole career, so it's not that big of a deal.
What do they say about that? I'm sure you work with a lot of Europeans who find that type of job interesting, to say the least.
I mean, most of them don't know what it is, which is
Right.
just it baffles my mind. I could be like Hulk Hogan. They're just like, okay, like
No
they
idea.
they don't even know who he is.
Yeah.
But for the people that do know, they're all super supportive of it, especially when I explain like, oh, I'm going to Vegas for 2 days to wrestle, and then I got to fly to Newfoundland and wrestle there, and then I'm going to fly back just in time to get to work on Monday. And they're like, man, that's insane. You're living the dream. And I'm just like, I mean, yeah, this is stuff that like guys I went to high school with and stuff, they wish they could do now. You know what I mean? I'm getting to travel around and just do what I want to do. So I mean, it helps put it in perspective and it helps like motivate me even more.
Yeah, I guess people don't realize that. Like when you have such a passion and love for something, you'll do whatever it takes to make that dream come true.
From day one, it's been an obsession. And I see it a lot in especially local wrestlers that are my friends. Like they're not willing to make the sacrifices that I was willing to make because I was so obsessed. Like every time wrestling will like break your heart and let you down over and over and over again. And it's just whether or not you're going to pick yourself up and be persistent and keep pushing. And
Mhm.
luckily, like I pushed for 13, 14 years before I got a contract.
Wow.
Like think about that. I broke my neck, had 2 neck surgeries, yada yada, and like it just took persistence. So like there was no other option for me. From the first moment I stepped foot in a ring, I knew this is the only thing I wanted to do. So luckily I have people in my life that support that and help push me too. So
I find your journey so interesting. I mean, I just watched a little documentary on you before we did this interview that's on Impact, and you talked about, having two serious neck injuries before you even had a professional wrestling contract at a big promotion like Impact. For those that don't know the story, can you kind of take us through both instances where you were injured and were told, I think after the second one, that you would never wrestle again?
yeah, I wrestled for about 8 or 9 years. It was 9 years at the time, and I was for the first time in my career getting close to getting a contract with a company called Ring of Honor. I mean, they were at least talking about contracts off and on. Whether or not they were serious or not, I can't validate.
Yeah.
But at the time, I wrestled a tag team match against Red Dragon, which is Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, who are now in NXT. And I took a DDT, and immediately the most agonizing pain. My arm lost all strength. My tricep completely atrophied in like 5 days, just disappeared. And it turns out I broke my neck. I broke my C4, C5, compressed the vertebrae, and I got surgery on that. But I was so close to this contract, and I was tagging up with Ethan Page still, so he was dependent on me showing up as well, that I just kept wrestling during this time. Like eventually the pain went away, and it was just a smaller arm, so I didn't tell anybody. And we flew to California. We wrestled the Young Bucks. We flew back, and the next day I had my neck surgery, and I didn't tell anybody. We canceled a few bookings. 5 weeks later, I came back and just tried to wrestle around it without like being too crazy.
Crazy.
And it seemed like it was successful because I wrestled. I ended up going to PWG. I ended up doing everything but getting that contract I thought I was, putting on the line. And then I just took a bad bump, and the same thing happened to my left side now.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know this feeling. I know what it is. Like, just completely disheartened. So there's not telling anybody this time. But this time when I went and talked to the doctor about my MRI, he told me I could never wrestle again. Went through all that heartbreak and everything. Retired from wrestling. Woke up from my surgery. Didn't have a neck collar on. Super confused. He tells me that they read the MRIs wrong. The injury wasn't as serious as they thought, and with proper rehab and time, I could return to wrestling. So I took 9 months off, which is the only 9 months I've missed in my entire 15-year career. And yeah, came back and kept pushing.
When someone like you has such a passion and love for pro wrestling and for what they do, when you heard that, hey, listen, I don't think you can wrestle anymore from your doctor, can you explain kind of your mindset when you first heard that?
I think at the time, it was more like it was shocking and it was sad, but it was kind of relieving because the process of those 2 injuries and those 2 surgeries, and I think they happened within 10 months of each other. The amount of stress and like everything, not just on me mentally and physically, but like it just takes everything out of you.
Yeah.
And like for him to say that, I'm like, yeah, I need a break. That was like really how I felt because I wasn't at the time. I didn't look like a wrestler. I couldn't work out anymore. I was depressed, so I was eating cookies. Like I could, if you go back and you watch anything from that period, like I wrestled Samoa Joe during that time,
Yeah.
and right before he went to NXT, and it was heartbreaking. But I needed a break at that time to like recover mentally and physically.
Yeah. Do you blame any of those injuries on your opponents, or it's just one of those things that comes with the business?
Oh no, not at all. None of them would mean to do that to anybody. I'm lucky that like there was no paralysis or anything like that because that would be completely heartbreaking. When you get in a wrestling ring, everybody's taking a chance. I've seen more people get hurt on a lockup or an arm drag than on these crazy dives you see.
How long after that did you receive a contract from Impact Wrestling?
Well, my second neck surgery was July of 2015. So almost, I think it's 3.5, 4.5 years.
there's a great picture of you. I don't know if you've seen it, where you're on the mat with your hands down. I think it's just after you got the contract. Can you explain what was going through your mind at that moment? Because going through what you went through to get to that must have been amazing.
I was just trying to soak in that moment
Yeah.
because like I've been around long enough to know that this stuff isn't going to last forever.
Right.
And that was one of those moments, like just when Scott was talking to me, he, I don't know if he'll admit it, but like his lip was quivering. He was stumbling on his words, getting that stuff out. Because like with everybody in that room that has seen me grow as a professional wrestler over the past 15 years, knew that that was my only goal. Knew that every time I step in a ring, whether there's like 5 people, 500 or 5,000, you're getting the same guy every time. I'm going to outwork everybody on the show. That's always been my thing. So like for them to give me that support and gratitude and everything, like I just wanted to soak in every moment. And I like the picture, like when I retired, I had a match at Destiny and I did the same thing. I laid down and I bowed in the ring and I put my headgear down in the middle of the ring. But this time it was like I was picking up a contract in the middle of the ring. It's pretty symbolic and cool.
You mentioned that you've had a lot of support along the way. I feel like there's a few people that come to mind for me. I mean, one being Ethan Page, and then another being George the Iceman. What does he mean to you, and how has he helped you in your career?
He's. I don't think this contract would have been possible without George. Like I credit him more than anybody for helping me get this because he wanted it just as much as I did, which at first like caught me off guard. Because like you see these guys, some of these promoters, and like it seems like they might have an ulterior motive or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like he's never taken credit for getting me that contract or try to insinuate anything like that. He just put me in front of the right people, and he kept putting me in front of the right people because he just believed in me. And without like that match with Pete Dunne that I had, I don't think like that. He put me in the ring with him. He put me in the match with Rich Swann, and he put me in the match with Sami Callihan. And Rich Swann and Sami Callihan were both big Impact players. He brought in Don Callis for commentary just to watch. And like all three of those matches, but mainly the Pete match, were the ones that were like turning points in the eyes of management. I think to say like we need to get on this guy because he's going to get signed and picked up somewhere.
Do you believe you're one of the best right now?
I yes, yeah. The short answer, yes. I think the whole mentality I have is I work as hard as I possibly can because I think anybody that's the best is going to be working just as hard as me or harder. So I'm trying to compete with everybody, and I put in a ton of work to be able to say that. And like in the past 2 years, I feel like part of me has just gotten super comfortable with wrestling. Like where I don't worry about the little things anymore. They just like they happen, and I'm fortunate for that. I think it's just repetitions. I've had like 1,200 plus matches now, and been in a lot of different scenarios. So yeah, I would like to think I'm one of the best.
I don't want to say end goal, but where do you want to be? Like, where do you want to take this pro wrestling career? Is it just to be at the top level for as long as you can be, or is there something else that you want to do?
I was never the guy like I had a wrestling school. Any wrestling school you step into, you ask them that question, "What's your goal?" And they'd be like, "Oh, I want to main event WrestleMania."
Yeah.
And me being, you mean you call it pessimistic or realistic, whatever. I never thought that possible. Like I didn't even think it was possible for me to be a wrestler. So I never set goals like that. I just set goals for like the next step. First it was I want to get a training match. Did the training match. Now I want a pro match. Okay, now I want to get paid such and such to wrestle a match, or I want to wrestle this guy, or I want to wrestle this place, or I want to get flown out somewhere. And it was always what's the next thing.
Hmm.
And now as the most decorated tag team in Impact history, finally got that contract, finally got on television, finally got in
Yeah.
front of the right people. I think the next goal, I have like small goals. Like I want to wrestle in Japan more than anything. Like that's my immediate. I need to do this. Uh, but beyond that, I just want to be respected by my peers and recognized as somebody that was very good at this and not forgotten when it's all said and done and I can't do it anymore.
So, silver lining for this whole situation for you, has it been the fact that you're at home and get to spend a bit more time with your family and kind of just be a dad for a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. I get my son is nearly 2, so it's a really good time to be home because every day he's doing a new thing. I can help relieve with the children a little bit while my wife, she's pushing her new business online, so she's doing a lot of work at home, and, yeah, it's just, it's good to have a reset. And if I didn't I'm gonna be honest, if I couldn't get away and go to work 4 to 5 days a week,
Right.
I'd probably be going crazy with everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, I get 9 hours out of my house every day
Yeah.
where I can kinda just, reset myself too, because being stuck in a house is pretty brutal.
Well, Josh, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on. I hope you and the family stay safe, and hopefully we see each other soon.
Yeah, man. Sooner than later.
Yes, brother. Take care.
Take care.